Good morning. Welcome to today's morning market call. My name is Ian Joseph, lead market analyst HFM East Africa, and today is a very blessed day. It being the third trading week of this monthly candle, month of September to be exact. And a quick disclaimer before we do begin: the information herein is only meant for educational and informative purposes only. None of it should be construed as investment advice. Trading the financial markets do carry a degree of risk, but don't worry, I'm here to take you through the markets the right way. Starting off with what we have to offer, we are just celebrating 15 years in the markets, all made possible by you, the traders, and we want to give back to the traders by having a few promotions that are very enlightening, starting off with a pure gold giveaway, whereby if you go to your HF website under promotions, the first one is the pure gold giveaway. Very interesting to note what we have to offer. Now, this competition is going to run from 8th of September till 8th of October. We do have 23 days and counting currently at the moment, whereby you have a chance to win 10 grams of pure gold. Very simple to get enrolled. Go over to HF promotions, pure gold giveaway, and join the promotions. Trade 100 standard lot size in gold using any account type. Hit the target and win 10 grams of pure tangible gold. This is just one of many promotions that we do have. If you go over once again to your HF website, we do have the Battle of the Elite, whereby if you do click on read more, you have a chance to become Kenya's Don Obiz, claim the crown, win a total of 650,000 Kenyan shillings, which is in the prize pool. The competition is going to run for a month. The first one is going to take away 650,000 Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to $5,000. Number two is going to walk home with $2,000. Number three is going to walk home with $1,000. Now, how do you join? Once again, HF website or application under promotions, Battle of the Elite, and join the promotion. Open a Battle of the Elite trading account and deposit at least $100, which is equivalent to 13,000 Kenyan shillings. Trade any asset and rank in the top 3 traders by percentage-wise of profit gained to win a cash prize. Now, looking at the leaderboard currently at the moment, we have SBS, who's up 417% of his total account. Number 9 is up 23.64. You still have a chance to get enrolled in this. Once again, minimum deposit is only $100. Now, we do have the first 5 currently also going on, whereby we have only 4 days, 13 hours and counting to go, whereby it's not only a marathon, it is a sprint, whereby speed is everything. The first one to trade will be the first one to win. Once again, how do you join? Go over to your HF promotions, the first 5, and join the promotions. Trade 150 lot size in Forex, gold, or silver. Be the first 5 traders to complete the trading requirement by 19th of September and stand a chance to win 65,000 Kenyan shillings. Once again, all made possible by HFM, the best broker currently in the world. Now, we are going to start our morning market call with where we usually begin it, the economic calendar. This could be your best friend. It should be your best friend. Whenever you wake up in the morning, this is whereby you start generating ideas of what you're going to be doing. Remember, on the HF website, on the HF platform, we have over 330 assets that you can be trading on. But whenever you wake up in the morning, you ask yourself, okay, how am I going to generate these ideas of what I'm going to look at? And the economic calendar is your best friend once again. Now, starting off with the data that we are anticipating, we did have Chinese yuan releasing their retail sales, the year-on-year release, and then the industrial production year also on year release. Now, we were looking at a data of 3.8% as a consensus. The data actually came out at 3.4. Now, for the industrial production, we were looking at 5.8%. The data actually came out at 5.2. Now, if you click on the title, it's going to give you a small description. Then if you read the official report, it's going to take you to a new tab, whereby this is the official government document that was released at exactly that point. Now, in August, under the strong leadership of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, all regions and departments strictly implemented the decisions and arrangements made by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council. Now, looking through the data, number 1, industrial production grew fast with good growth momentum for equipment manufacturing and high-tech manufacturing. Quite interesting to note. In August, the total value added of the industrial enterprises above the designated size grew by 5.2% year on year, or up 0.37% month on month release. In terms of sectors, the value added of mining went up, manufacturing went up, production and supply of electricity, heat, power, gas, and water went up by 2.4% to be exact. The value of added equipment manufacturing increased by 8.1% year on year, and that of high-tech manufacturing increased by 9.3%. Now, when you look at China, China is a very interesting economy in the sense that they do produce a lot of goods and services. Now, if they do produce goods, that's step number one. These goods have to be sold. So if the data comes out actually better than positive, it means that in the near future, these goods and services that are produced, let's say, for example, when you're looking at industrial, it did grow. When you look at services sector, it did grow rapidly, and modern services enjoyed sound momentum. Market sales also did grow steadily, and service retails grew fast. Investment in fixed assets maintained growth, and investment in manufacturing also did grow fast. In the first 8 months, to be exact, the investment in fixed assets, excluding rural households, reached 32,611 billion yuan, up 0.5% year on year release. Imports and exports of goods and services sustained growth, and trade structure continued to optimize. Employment was generally stable, and urban surveyed unemployment rate went up due to seasonality. Very interesting. Core CPI continued to rebound, and PPI for products witnessed a narrowed decline. Now, the CPI went down by zero. This was data that was released sometime last week, whereby it did go down by 0.4% year on year, maintaining the same level month on month, grouped by commodity categories. Prices for foods, tobacco, and alcohol went down by 2.5% year on year. Now, very interesting to note, if this data comes out positive, as a trader, you want to ask yourself, remember, we are generating ideas of what you'll be looking at. If data comes out positive for a specific currency, it shows you that, okay, am I going to look at buys or sells on a specific commodity? Now, looking at it, this is the year-on-year release of the data for the Chinese yuan. It shows us, okay, compared to us, a similar time last year, we have seen the economy generally go to the upper side. This shows you that the Chinese yuan is generally due to be positive in the future days. Now, that is going to be for the retail sales and the industrial production, which the data did come out exactly at 5 a.m. local Nairobi time. Now, the highlight of the day is going to be ECB President Lagarde's speech. Now, this comes at a critical time, which is going to be in the next 10 hours, 57 minutes, because if you look at President Lagarde, she is the chair of the Central Bank of Europe. And looking at Europe, where they are currently at the moment, there's a lot of uncertainty, especially if you go over to France, whereby France did dissolve government, and last week on Tuesday, Macron appointed Defense Minister Lecornu as France's latest Prime Minister. This is the guy who has been put in the chair currently at the moment. On Tuesday, he did appoint Defense Minister Sebastian as new Prime Minister and tasked him with immediately trying to get the country's fractious political parties to agree on a budget for one of the world's biggest economies. Now, Lecornu, who's 39, was the youngest defense minister in French history and an architect of major military buildup through 2030. Spurred by Russia's war in Ukraine, a longtime Macron loyalist, Lecornu is now France's fourth prime minister in barely a year. Now, this comes at a very interesting point once again, because if you look at it from a point of view, just recently, France did have more than 413 billion euros in defense spending package, as Lecornu, the guy who's been put into power currently at the moment, championed for the 2024 to 2030, represents the most significant spending hike in France in half a century. The money aimed to modernize France's nuclear arsenal, augment intelligence spending, and develop more remote-controlled weapons. Ever since Russia did invade Ukraine, most of the countries in the world did up their budget in terms of defense so as to protect themselves in terms of unforeseen circumstances when a country is supposed to go to war. Now, this is very interesting because if at the United States of America, they do have a lot of budget in terms of defense. Now, this is money that is going to go into research and development. It's going to create more jobs. If this $435 billion goes into the market, it's going to buy more materials. Basically, money will be in circulation. So as a result of the defense spending package being increased or the money being released, you do anticipate that the economy generally will be headed in the right direction. Now, this comes at a cost to the taxpayers because, once again, this money has to come from somewhere, and there's a high probability it usually comes from the taxpayers. So looking at it currently at the moment, this is very interesting to note because this guy has just come from the military and he's been put into power. Very interesting to note, and we will want to look at how the economy generally will be headed to in France. Now, how does this relate to us traders? Because if you look at the euro is a basket of countries put together, with France accounting for more than 22% of the GDP of Europe. So whatever happens to France, 22% of the euro is going to be affected. Now, later on in the day, we do anticipate President Lagarde releasing her speech. Not only President Lagarde, we do have also ECB's Schnabel speech, but we tend to focus on the chairs because the chairs usually have a lot more impact on price action. Why? Because whenever she releases her speech, there's going to be a speech that is usually presented for her, but there's usually a question and answer segment that usually comes afterward, which tends to generate most of the liquidity. And we shall go over the charts in just a few moments' time. Look at what happened last week, because this is the third time this month that she is speaking. Actually, the fourth time. This will be the fourth time that she is standing in front of people, and investors, economists will want to hear from her. What are your future economic projections? Now, that's one of the mandates of a central bank. A central bank has a mandate of offering forward guidance to investors and the marketplace, whereby they are going to be asked, what do you feel about future economic projections? Now, if they say that, okay, we are more likely to be headed in the right direction, it means that, okay, we will head in the right direction. But on the other hand, if these questions and answers are being sparked to the chair and then it brings out negativity, usually you anticipate the markets to react to it negatively. Now, that is going to be at exactly 9:10. This is local Nairobi time, which is going to be in the next 10 hours, 52 minutes as per the time of recording. But looking at the economic calendar, the highlight of the week is going to be on Wednesday, whereby at exactly 9 p.m. local Nairobi time, we do anticipate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 news releases that are going to affect the dollar. And this is what we have been looking at for quite some time, whereby we do anticipate the Fed Reserve to come to the table and tell us where they are going to set interest rates are. Now, consensus have it, currently at the moment, we are at 450 basis points. There's a high probability consensus we are going to see a 425% basis points interest rates. Now, we don't know exactly by how much the Fed are going to cut interest rates. We are certain there's going to be an interest rate cut, but by how much is what we don't know. And there's usually a good website that I usually look into, whereby it's going to show us what we are anticipating, which is going to be in the next 2 days, 10 hours to go. We do anticipate the Fed Reserve. As you can see, the statistics at the moment is at 94.2% chance that we might see interest rates being taken down to 400 and 425% basis points. There's a 5.8% chance we might see interest rates being taken even further down to 375 to 400 basis points. But the key thing here, we are going to have 3 meetings this year, including the one we do anticipate in the next 2 days, whereby statistics have actually jumped to almost a 72.7% chance interest rates will be taken even further down to 350 to 375 basis points. All of these will be highlighted. We are going to get clarity on this matter come Wednesday at exactly 9. And this is what the markets have been looking into. When you look at the central bank, the biggest forex participants in the markets are the central bank. Whenever you find these people having their meetings, we as traders will want to pay attention to what is happening currently at the moment and their forward guidance. Now, they usually look into 2 major sets of data. Number 1 being employment, number 2 being inflation. Now, we have looked at employment in the United States of America coming down drastically. This is the first time in 4 years whereby we have seen the NFP numbers come well below the 100,000 mark. Once again, for the first time in 4 years. Now, inflation has been slowing down, but it has been picking up of late. But could this prompt the Fed Reserve to cut interest rates even further as a result of the data that will be coming in? All of these will be answered on Wednesday. Quite interesting to note. Now, geopolitical speaking, Gulf region is at risk as Qatar seeks collective response to Israeli attacks. Now, Qatar Prime Minister accuses the Israeli Prime Minister of leading the Middle East into chaos as regional leaders stand in solidarity with Qatar. Now, Qatar Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Jasmine Al Thani has said that there must be a collective response to Israel's attack on the Qatari capital Doha, as Arab leaders rushed to the Gulf nation to express solidarity. There is a response that will happen from the region. This response is currently under consultation and discussion with other parties in the region. He told US media outlet CNN on Wednesday, adding that the entire Gulf region, once again, is at risk. Now, when you look at this piece of information, they were hoping to have peace talks, but Israeli did attack Qatar, especially Doha, when these people were having their peace talks. Now, this came at a critical moment because they were hoping for something meaningfully that deters Israeli from continuing the bullying. We understand that some sort of regional meeting will be held here in Qatar. We know that countries have pulled together their own legal team. They are looking at all legal avenues to have Netanyahu tried for breaking international laws. So yeah, the pressure is definitely mounting on Israel, not only from Qatar, but obviously on a regional and a wider international level. And that's what I think he's obviously trying to do in giving these forceful statements to the US network. Now, when you look at Qatar, Qatar is a close ally to the United States of America. Now, America and Israel are also close allies. So when these attacks happened on Qatar, there were diplomatic ties that we were anticipating. Could there be a ceasefire in the Middle East region? But as a result of these strikes, could the table be moved even further in terms of the ceasefire talks? As the Israeli military did target Hamas leaders in Doha on Tuesday as they were meeting to discuss the latest Gaza ceasefire proposal put forth by US President Donald Trump. At least 6 people were killed in the attack, but Hamas says its leadership survived the assassination bid. Qatar says one of its security officers was killed in the attack. This is going to be interesting to note. Now, moving over to the farthest end of the world, Russia, Ukraine. Currently, at the moment, Ukrainian drones did strike one of Russia's top oil refineries, which did spark a very big fire. Now, the overnight struck on the Kryvyi refinery in Russia's northwest Leningrad region follows weeks of Ukrainian attacks on Russian oil infrastructure that Kiev says fuels Moscow's war effort. Now, the facility is operated by a Russian company, which produces close to 17.7 million metric tons per year, which is equivalent to about 355,000 barrels a day of crude oil and is one of Russia's top 3 by output. Now, this is more than 3 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Drones continue to be a key weapon for both sides. Multiple Russian drones crossed into Poland on Wednesday, prompting NATO to send fighter jets to shoot them down and underlying long-held concerns that fighting might spill beyond Ukraine's borders. Now, this comes at a very interesting time once again, because if you look at the refinery, as of Sunday afternoon, Russian officials offered no further comment on the consequences of the strike, and it wasn't immediately possible to verify this. At least 80 Ukrainian drones were shot down overnight over Russia, the annexed Crimean Peninsula, and the adjacent Sea of Azov. Now, Ukrainian drones previously targeted the Kryvyi refinery in March, causing minor damage, according to social media reports. Now, Russia remains the world's second largest oil exporter, but a seasonal rise in demand and sustained Ukrainian drones have caused gasoline shortages in recent weeks. Gas stations have run dry in some regions of the country, with motorists waiting in long lines and officials resorting to rationing or cutting off sales altogether. When you look at Russia, they do have a lot of resources, especially energy resources. When you look at the minerals also that they do offer currently at the moment. Now, whatever happens to these country in terms of sanctions, in terms of this war that's ongoing, it's going to affect supply and demand. Once again, 355,000 barrels a day is quite the amount of oil to be shut down in an economy. Now, whenever this happens, it usually drives demand higher because all of a sudden there is going to be low supply of oil in the markets, meaning the less oil that is now currently available is going to fetch a higher price on the markets. And we'll want to look at what is going to happen in the near future. Now, when we go back to Japan, they're supposed to enter into voting on the 4th of October after their prime minister did resign last week, just on Sunday, whereby Ishiba announced that he will resign as the head of the LDP and eventually prime minister to take responsibility for the historic loss in the summer parliamentary election, making way for his successor to be chosen in a party leadership race now expected on the 4th of October. Now, when this happened, we did see the Japanese yen take a beating. Why? Because investors like to be in a place whereby there's certainty. When there is uncertainty in the markets, they usually offload their positions. Now, the markets usually move by fear and greed. Whenever there's fear in the markets, people usually sell. Whenever there's greed in the markets, people usually buy. So in case of economic uncertainty, especially including the central banks, remember once again, the biggest participants in the forex market are the central banks. And the central banks are the people who work, especially the chairs who work on the central banks, are usually put in place by the politicians. So whatever happens to the politicians in terms of the central bank is going to affect the currency. And we'll want to look at the oncoming data that will be released. We do anticipate Bank of Japan to increase their interest rates in the near future. Could this have an impact on what is going to happen to the Japanese yen? There's only one way to find out. Now, looking at the commitment of traders, very interesting to note. It was updated last week. And also, if you go over to your HF website, and so this was last week. It's usually updated every week. If I can go to 12, at exactly 11 p.m., just before the markets do close, actually it was at 10:30, whereby we did have the commitment of traders being updated on our website also. Now, if you do click on the title, it's going to give you a small description. And if you do click on the read official report, it's going to take you to the official report of the CFTC. Now, this is cftc.gov. This is the official document whereby institutions, speculators are mandated to update their positions on this website every Tuesday, but it will be made available to the public every Friday. It's worth noting because you want to look at how institutions have been positioning themselves. And today, we will want to look at how this information affects price action. Starting off with silver, whereby you want to focus on managed money, okay? We do have the long positions and the short positions. Looking at the net long positions, it's 49,390. Net short positions are 13,535. As traders, you would want to focus on the changes. Now, looking at from 2nd of September till 9th of September, institutions offloaded 1,903 net long positions, while at the same time they added 1,012 net short positions. If I pull my chart of XAG USD, which is silver, and I zoom out, now once again, if you look at our HF platform, we offer over 332 assets. I would want you to be engaging with me. Which are some of the assets that you would want me to be looking into? Now, looking at silver, once again, looking at from 2nd of September, which was around this region here. So from 2nd of September till 9th of September, which was around this region, we saw institutions offload 1,000 positions, while at the same time they added 1,000 net short positions. Now, when you look at price action was consolidating because prices were neither making clear high or clear lows in the markets. So this is the result of institutions trying to offload their positions, whereby they did offload their buying positions and they did add into selling positions. Now, looking at gold, going back to the commitment of traders, as of from 2nd of September till 9th of September, under managed money, the net long positions are 198,907. The net short positions are 35,300 and 88. But looking at the changes, we saw institutions add 2,780 net long positions, while at the same time, institutions, they also did add 763 net short positions. So looking at these informations, they bought more than they sold the markets, okay? And we want to look at the charts. So on gold from 2nd of September, this was 2nd of September here. From 2nd of September till 9th of September, we did see 2,000 positions being added to the markets in less than 520. Okay, so let me go to a 1 hour time frame to get a much clearer indication of what the markets are telling us. Once again, going back to 2nd of September till the highs of 9th of September, we did see in 131 hours, we did see institutions buy into the markets. Now, whenever institutions buy into the markets, you anticipate prices to move to the upper side. As a result of the commitment of traders, we did see prices move aggressively to the upper side, almost 5.69% ever since the commitment of traders was updated from 2nd of September till 9th of September. And then the markets entered into a period of consolidation. Quite interesting to note how institutions are currently positioning themselves in the markets. Now, this could be as a result of the interest rates that we are anticipating in the next 2 days. And the question begs currently at the moment, could there be more than from where that came from? Could there be more interest rate cuts, and could the market still have more opportunities on these assets that we're looking at, especially the dollar denominated assets? Once again, there's only one way to find out. Remember, as traders, we do react to prices. We react to the information that comes in front of us, and then we make probabilities out of those interactions. Now, looking at Euro USD, very interesting. Last week, I want to go to the 15-minute time frame and highlight what happened during the speech of President Lagarde on 11th of September. So this was the most recent meeting that President Lagarde did have. And this, as you can see here, prices were consolidating ever since the markets did open, whereby prices were printing side by side, side by side. Now, when the data was released, starting with the CPI data, markets went to the downside. Then when the speech did begin, the market started rising to the upper side. Very interesting to note, when the question and answer segment did begin, the euro did strengthen against the dollar for almost 0.4%, which is equivalent to almost 50 pips on Euro USD in quite a short amount of time. And then the markets entered into a period of consolidation whereby it was neither making clear higher highs or clear lower lows. Now, the speech that will be released today also is going to have an impact on the prices of Euro USD. Remember, once again, France do account for more than 22% of the euro. So whatever is going to happen to France is going to affect the euro and everything in general. Let's look at the geopolitical tensions. When you look at Russia, almost 26% of energy from Russia that is consumed by Europe comes from Russia. So whatever happens to Russia in terms of the sanctions and the geopolitical tensions is going to have a ripple effect on the economies nearby, and these include the Euro region. This all will be highlighted in the speech of President Lagarde, which is due to be released later on today, whereby we traders want to listen to her tone. What does she have to say about the markets? So that's going to, let's look at USD JPY, and then I'll look into assets that you want me to be looking into. Now, US dollar against Japanese yen, once again, it is at a very critical point in time, whereby in terms of political instability, when you're looking at US dollar, we do anticipate interest rate cuts. When you look at Bank of Japan, they do want to hike interest rates in the near future. And this all could be very interesting to note how price action is going to play out in the near future as a result of this data that we are anticipating. When you're looking at USD JPY, currently at the moment, it is in a period of consolidation whereby prices are neither making clear higher highs or clear lower lows. If I can zoom out to a larger time frame and pinpoint ever since the start of August till where we are, in 737 hours, prices has just been consolidating around this particular region. And we'll want to look at how prices would react as information is being released to us in the near future. So this is whereby I would want to go to to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Remember, once again, we do have a Traders Clinic, which is going to begin in Nairobi from the 15th to 17th of September at the Nairobi Garage, Spring Valley. Please ensure you book your seat because we do have limited slots available. Leaholic, thank you for being the first one to join. Hello, Victoria. Hello, Christina. Okay, if there are no questions, that will be it for me in the morning market call. I shall see you in the next segment that will occur tomorrow at the same time. Stay safe, take care of yourselves. Risk management is going to be very crucial to ensure that you stay in the game for long. Peace. I shall see you tomorrow.